Welcome by Ask Scholars. Today we discuss blog about study in Australia. You can find the link under description to read all important details. There are thousands of courses offered in Australia for international students. You can study without IELTS in Australia. Watch till end for full guide about study in Australia. These are points which are discussed in details in this blog. As you can see, almost each single detail has been added in table of contents. If you want to get only specific information from these points, just click on one of these points to read it. What you want to know about, is it intakes and deadlines for admission in Australian university, or you want to study in Australia without IELTS. Maybe you want to know about total expenses in Australia or scholarships opportunities in Australia. Lastly, you can read, how can you apply work permit in Australia? Let's discuss all these points one by one in this video. We start from first point, which is general information about Australia. Australia is one of the world leaders in education. Australia is an attractive destination for international students with a high quality education. International students are preferring Australia for studies nowadays. Australian universities are top ranked universities at the world stage at the moment. Universities are highly ranked in the following fields of study in Australia. More than 90% of international students are satisfied with education at universities in Australia. What are intakes and deadlines for admission in Australian university? There are two intakes for international students in Australian universities. February intake is the main intake for international students in Australia. There are many courses offered at a different level of studies from all universities. While in July intake, fewer courses are offered. So, students have fewer options to choose courses for studies. When it comes to deadlines, we recommend to students, visit the university website, as each university has its deadline for admissions. As general, for February intake, students can apply from October to November in any university. July intake has deadline from April till May to submit applications for admission. What is application process for Australian university? You want to study in Australian university? Follow these steps to get admission. Shortlist relevant course and university. Submission of application at university. Paying tuition fee and getting acceptance letter from university. Receiving electronic confirmation of enrolment. Lastly, apply for a student visa in the embassy. As mentioned in the up-given points, the student needs to shortlist course and university. It should be relevant to your previous studies. Every university has mentioned general entry requirements and specific entry requirements under each course, which makes it quite easy to understand. Either a student is eligible for the particular course or not. Once a university has been shortlisted, now it's time to start the online application process on the university website and upload all required documents on the online portal. On the second stage, university shortlists applications for Skype interview. Student needs to clear that interview to progress further his admission process. At the third stage, after cracking the Skype interview, university in Australia issues an acceptance letter conditionally. When a student pays tuition fee, his seat gets confirmed in a particular course at university. We are sure you must have checked scholarships at the time of shortlisting a university. Scholarship can be fully funded or partially funded. It can be a reduction in tuition fee only. So, pay tuition fee accordingly. These are English language requirements in Australian university. The following guideline is just an approximation. Each university or institute will have its own benchmark score for their respective courses. You can study without IELTS also at Australian university. Check later in this blog how you can study in Australia without IELTS. What are documents for admission in Australian university? Generally, to apply for any university in Australia you need to send the supporting documents to the university's admission office, but the requirements may change from university to university. Here we have provided the general documents for Australian university during application process. Your documents are not in English. Please translate in English and attest from higher education authority in your particular country. Study in Australia without IELTS. There is one common problem. Many students are uncomfortable with English language test. They do not find ways to pass IELTS or TOEFL. Here we find a way for those students. They still can study in Australia without IELTS. Which course do you want to study? Check eligibility requirements for a particular university you have shortlisted. Visit a few universities before you make mind to the final one of the universities. Apply online and upload all documents on the university website where you want to study without IELTS. You will be invited for Skype interview. Once your profile is shortlisted, you have to clear this interview to confirm your admission to a university, as you are applying without IELTS. So, interview would be basic, as the university wants to know you can communicate and understand basic English. Once you pass the interview, you need to pay the tuition fee and receive an acceptance letter from the university. There is the chance of scholarship in universities. Always check scholarship opportunities before you pay tuition fee. Here we present the list of universities where you can apply for studies without IELTS. What is application process for Australian Embassy and documents for student visa? Once you are done with the admission process of universities, now it's time to start the application process in the embassy and submit all necessary documents. So, you can travel to Australia for studies. Submit the following documents and start preparing for interview in the Australian Embassy. Total study expenses in Australia for international students. Australia is unfortunately one of the most expensive countries for international students. Here we break down tuition fee and living cost details respectively. The cost of studying in Australia depends on the universities and the level of study you choose. Meanwhile, tuition fees at Australian universities vary considerably depending on where and what you study. Given below is the list to give you an indication of the course costs for different types of qualifications. Here we have mentioned tuition fee for international students at different level of studies in Australia. This is approximate living cost in Australia. Charges for different accommodations are presented here. Weekly expenses depend purely how you want to live. Approximate expenses are as follows. How much bank statement is required for Australia's student visa? You need to show around 20,500 Australian dollars in total in your bank statement as your living cost for 1 year. Tuition fee is not included in it, as you would have already paid the tuition fee to get an acceptance letter from the university. For travel charges, you need to show 2,000 Australian dollars in your bank statement. Wait, are you traveling with your family member? Then you need to show additional funds in your bank statement. You need to show another 2,000 Australian dollars for your spouse. These expenses would be stated as travel expenses in your bank statement for your family member. Overall, your partner needs to show 7,100 Australian dollars funds for a year. Do you have a child, and you want to travel with your child? You have to show the course fee for the first year for your child. You need to show 3,040 Australian dollars per child in your bank statement. Add all the expenses given above and your bank statement should show enough financial capacity to cover it. Job opportunities to cover expenses in Australia for international students. Students need to work when they choose study abroad to fulfill living expenses. Many students choose Australia as study destination, as there are many possibilities to work. As a student, you are allowed to work 20 hours per week to support your studies. You can work more during semester breaks. You can find part-time work opportunities in following industries in Australia. How you can find job opportunities in Australia. Here, we have mentioned few ways. Scholarships in Australia for international students. There are many scholarships opportunities for international students in Australia. Approximately, there are around 3,000 scholarships and grants for deserving students annually. It is a quite big number. The major scholarships programs by government available for international students are following. Open these links for more information. The Australian universities award scholarships for international students, which are awarded for all level of studies, including bachelor's degree courses, master's degree courses, postgraduate courses and PhD. Here, few universities are mentioned which offer scholarships for international students. Lastly, you can read here, how to change study permit into work visa in Australia. Once you have completed a bachelor's, master's or doctoral degree, you can change student visa into work visa in Australia. Visa is granted for 18 months.